I'm your daddy.
I can be smart when it's important.
I'm your daddy. I'm
sorry to this
I'm your daddy.
Welcome to Daddy Dailies, a podcast hosted by Not Your Daddy's Films. On a film set, dailies are sent out after a shoot day so you can see the work in progress. Daddy Dailies are conversations that go behind the scenes so you can see what work went into the process and be better armed to succeed in the industry. Daddy Dailies, hosted by Not Your Daddy's Films.
Or is it time?
I immediately got stressed.
I know.
Hi.
Hi. Okay, I'm gonna read your thing now.
Okay.
Oh, this is like,
This is sweet.
it's just really sweet.
This is really precious.
I love you. Okay, here we go. You've heard Katherine Hughes, or Case, in interviews with Imani Davis and Zoe Cassavetes, but now I get to ask her the juicy Q's. Katherine is a writer, director, and actor with a decade of on-set experience, acting in projects like the Sundance-winning Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, Kingdom, Echo 3, and Tell Me Lies. Her directorial debut, Yellow Belt Fury, showcased her talents and led to studio writing assignments and her first development deal. She now has 3 features at various stages of development. She has graduated from UCLA, and she's returning for season 3 of Tell Me Lies.
Yay.
Welcome to Daddy Dailies.
I weirdly wanted to be like, go Bruins! But I've never done that before, so.
Well, I'm just so proud of you. Look
Thank
at
you.
all the things you've done, and you
thanks.
managed to get a degree through it all.
I am very proud of myself for that. That's
You
one of
should
those things I always wanted to do. And then during COVID, I was like, I'm gonna apply, and if I get in, I'm gonna go. And then I did.
And you did, and you did.
And I did. And I studied gender, which was not something that I, as a young person, I feel like women aren't, it used to be called women's studies, which is hilarious, but I was like, when I was looking through the vast options of what to major in, I was like, this sounds exactly what I want to do with my life right now.
And now look at you. You are running a social impact organization for women and
Yes.
non-binary people.
That I am, with 4 of my best friends. And it's my fave.
Well, okay, let's back it right up, okay? You have been acting professionally since you were really young.
Yeah.
When did you realize you wanted to be an actor, and what were the steps you took that got you from Delaware?
I was born in Delaware. That's a secret I like to keep in the tuck, but it's public now.
It's my favorite fun fact about you.
I do love Delaware. I moved a lot as a kid. So I grew up in a lot of different places. I was born in Delaware, but moved 16 times by the time I was 18.
Wow.
And so I was I had, my little brother is one of my best friends, but I was a fairly lonely kid. And so I watched a lot of movies with my brother. And I think both my brother and I have ended up in creative paths. He's a VFX editor, or a VFX artist and an editor. But when we were young, we just watched so many movies all the time. And I think as I got older, I don't know, I think when I was young, and this is a story for a lot of women, I think when you're young, back in the early 2000s, when you think of movies and how you wanted to be a part of them, I think the only way was I'll be an actress,
I think that's why I was an actor for 22 years.
I thought of that when, I heard you speaking. I was like, I think a lot of women when they're young, they're like, well, if I'm going to be in the movies, I got to be an actor,
That's the only way a lady can be on set.
Right. And I found when I was younger, my brother was given, a lot of people were like, well, you should be an editor, you should be a director. And, for me, it's you should be an actor. And it's okay, cool. And I loved it. I enjoyed it a lot as a kid. And then one of our moves was to New York, and that was just very serendipitous in terms of the industry. And somehow my mom didn't get conned or swindled. And I got a great agent and started acting. Yeah. When I was 13.
Wow.
And, yeah, and then from there, I just found myself on set all the time. And when I look back now, I don't think I knew it at the time. It was just the thing I enjoyed most was being on set. It wasn't the fact that I was, in the frame or the star of the show. It was I just loved being around what it was and this magical thing. Oh, I'm immediately getting emotional. It's I was around this beautiful thing that I watched so much as a kid, It's I was a part of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How cool that we got to do that. So at what point, when and how did you move to LA? And then what was the point when you were oh, I want to and I can do other stuff in addition to acting?
Yeah, I moved to LA. I booked a job when I was 18, and I moved here.
What was the
and
job?
My first job was called Men, Women, and Children, and it was I had done a few indies in New York, but my first job in LA was a Paramount movie with Jason Reitman when I was 18. It was I was with my cast was like Timothée Chalamet, Ansel Elgort, Jennifer Garner, Adam Sandler. Like, it was crazy. It was like it was crazy. Just saying that, I'm like, that's nuts. It was awesome, and it was really fun. And then I ended up booking other stuff. I just was on sets all the time, and I was at this place where I was young and everyone I knew was in college. So I was a little lonely again because everyone I knew my age was in college at the time. And so I found myself when you're a working actor, I had a lot of time in between jobs. And so I started like being like, oh, well, maybe I'll just write. It's like I didn't have to get a day job. So I was like, I had all this time, which I look back and it's like so beautiful that I had that time. So I just wrote a lot. And then when I was 23, I did a show called My Dead Ex, which was on it was like Awesomeness TV.
I loved that show.
Thank you.
It was before we were even friends.
One of my favorite experiences, and Drew Hancock ran it,
good.
And he just made Companion, and like it was one of my favorite experiences. But it was with Awesomeness TV, and Awesomeness at the time was doing a really cool thing where they were really supporting young creatives, and they had this anthology series. I don't remember what it's called right now, but it was a bunch of short films directed by first-time filmmakers. And so when I was doing My Dead Ex, I wrote a short film and I sold it to Awesomeness. So it was like the first time I ever got like paid to write. And I think the series didn't end up going for like a 4th season maybe. So my film didn't get made, but I was like, oh, wow, like it was so like exhilarating, and just the preliminary thoughts of like, what it would be like to maybe direct it, or what that looked like, got me so excited. And so I think from then on, I started just writing more. I optioned my first feature when I was like 23, I think, and it never, it didn't get made. Maybe one day it will. I still love it a lot. I've grown a lot since I wrote it, but just since then.
Did you ever get the rights back for it?
Yeah, definitely. I actually went back and read it the other day, and I was impressed with myself.
I bet it's really good.
It's really sweet. Because I wrote it. It was the first thing I wrote. And I'm thinking about maybe revamping it, maybe rewriting it when I have time. But after I optioned that, I just spent a lot of time like writing. And then when COVID hit, I was like, okay, I love writing, and this thing called directing like doesn't seem so far from me anymore. Like it always seemed so far when even when you're on set, like I think the way that sets separate actors and the crew is really interesting. And it's either like I've had to fight a little bit to be able to stay on set to observe and learn, because actors, a lot of the time, it's like, okay, you come from your trailer, and then as soon as you're done saying your lines, they're like, okay, go back to your trailer. And it's like, I want to sit here and observe and learn and grow. And so as I was on sets, I was really trying to like, watch directors, learn from DPs, learn from all these people around me. But yeah, COVID hit, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to try directing. And like, I was like, I don't know what is going to happen, but we'll see. It's COVID. If it sucks, like, who cares? And so I told my best friend who I was living with at the time, she's a martial artist. And I was like, okay, I want to make a rom-com sci-fi action movie. Will you help me pay for it? And she was like, yeah, of course. And kind of similar to what you were saying about your good friend, like, if Melanie Rains like didn't, believe in me in that time in my life, like that has led to just so many things.
And that film, Yellow Belt Fury,
yes,
is so good.
Thank you.
And it's so good.
And it's like 5 minutes, we made it for $3,000, and it's like, it's every favor I've ever asked for, and I'm really proud of it still. And I think, I was thinking this morning, I've grown a lot since making it. It was 4 years ago almost now, and like, I heard what Coco said when it's like, it's really incredible when people just make stuff, because like when you think about how difficult it is to do anything, and when I look back at that experience, I'm like, I can't believe I did that, just putting something together. You helped me produce Happy Mart, which was another action short I made, and like, we shot that in 10 hours, and I can't believe we fucking did that.
And it's so good.
Thank you. Yeah, I made that short, and then from there, that has just kind of brought on so many amazing opportunities, like a a development deal and just a million meetings and just moving forward in this career that I fully feel like this is what I want to do with my life now. And I feel confident in that. And like, I can't wait. Like, I'm so excited. And, you know, I'm so grateful for Not Your Daddies because I feel like we all are learning and growing as our community is. And when I'm at our events and I'm talking, you know, I talked to someone the other night at our event and she like was like, yeah, I just got an agent and I'm packaging this thing. And I'm like, yo, like I have something that I just optioned that I'm packaging. And what's your experience like? And it's just been, you know, when we started this, I knew like 4 women directors and now I know so many. And it's just really special and really exciting and gives me the confidence and like the hope that like it's all gonna be okay and it's all gonna happen and we're all gonna get to tell stories, you know? So yeah, I don't know if that was the question, but
I loved everything you said.
Had you as an actor worked with any or many women directors? I know you have now, but like before you started directing, had you?
No, I mean, I brought on Zoe Cassavetes to our pod and she was the first woman I'd ever worked with. No, I mean, I really didn't know, and it's sad that I say that, but it's like I didn't know women could run a set until I was like in my early mid-20s, you know? It's like I never saw it when I was young.
Same, dude.
Yeah.
And I think that's like true for that's at least true for like every woman director I've talked to.
Yeah. And I think the thing I'm realizing now is that all the men hold the money now. And that's also kind of what like I'm interested in how that progresses over time is like, you know, it's incredible that all of these women now are like getting in powerful positions and like, you know, are executives. And I have so many friends that are like moving up the ranks and everyone's, you know, doing all these incredible things in their careers. But I'm like, who holds the money? Where are the finances coming from? Because that's how you make a movie. Yep. And if the people deciding who are, you know, what is being made are all, you know, still men, then that's what we're gonna watch.
Talk to us a little bit more about like the development process. You are in development for 3 different features.
Yeah.
Can you tell us like about?
It's kind of like when you ask it, like I think of whenever we ask at Not Your Daddies, people like, well, how did you do it? And everyone's path is so different. And it's like, I think of all these features that I have and like all of their paths have been so different. It's really interesting to watch. You know, it's like one of them, we're starting with packaging. So I have like, I've been around the, you know, actors and actresses for a long time. And so we've brought on some like good, I guess, bankable names to put onto my projects, which get us in studio rooms. And like that is a way toward financing. And then like another project, a really amazing producer who's worked at like HBO and worked with all these amazing episodic directors and people, she came onto a project and she brought it to a production company and they signed on. So it's like they now are both producing my film and finding financing, but we don't have like an actor yet. So it's like every path is so different. One thing I've learned is how long everything takes. Like that's the interesting thing. And that's why I really respect people who have access to money and or crowdfund and just go do the thing, because like that is really, I think I just saw one of the Duplass brothers giving a whole speech about it like online, but like if you want to really do something, just go do it truly, because you know, I'm respecting this process and I believe in this process, but things do take a really long time. It takes a long time for, I mean, even just as simple as people reading a script, you know, like
that's what I'm learning with my show.
Yeah.
And that's, I think that I think right now there's more movement with indie features than there is with any TV.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. Yeah,
but
I've like never written. I'd love to write a show at some point.
It's so much easier than writing a movie.
Really?
It's half the length.
Well,
I've written a few pilots and I can't seem to finish my first feature. So
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I like. Yeah, and I think I started when I started. It's weird because when I first started, I started in like mostly movies, and I've only really done TV the last couple of years, like episodic television as an actor. And I think maybe that's why I started writing features first, is because that's what I was reading all the time when I was getting auditions and stuff. But now I'm super, like, I have loved learning from Megan Oppenheimer on Tell Me Lies. She's so giving, and like, just, it's really cool to see a woman in the industry who's doing such amazing things be so giving with information, and like, just on set, like, she's amazing. And I've loved reading her scripts and watching her on set, and I'm like, wait, that sounds fun. Like, this is cool. TV is a really cool medium. Like, she's built this world for over 3 seasons, and it's awesome. It can go on forever, you know?
Yeah.
With the development process, it's like acting, and I think that's why I'm okay with it. It's such a roller coaster. You know, there'll be it'll go 3 weeks and I'm waiting on something, I'm waiting on notes or something, and then it's all of a sudden, you know, for 3 weeks I'm doing rewrites, I'm working on contracts with my lawyer, I'm, you know, like, talking to my manager every day, and it's just quite a roller coaster. But so far, thankfully, I feel it's all forward momentum, so that's exciting.
Which is huge.
Yeah, so that's really
I feel
exciting.
like you're very humble, and you could be bragging way harder.
That's nice.
I'll brag about you all day long.
I
Katherine Hughes is killing it, everyone.
Thank you. Yeah, it's gonna happen at some point. It's just
Yeah.
like a waiting game.
What are some like good lessons you've learned from like watching directors on set, whether it's like, I mean, Jason Reitman or,
Yeah.
you know, any of the amazing directors on Tell Me Lies? And like, what do you want to bring with you when like, as you're directing?
I've learned, the first thing I
Yeah.
think of, I've learned a lot of what not to do with
That's super
with some
helpful.
projects I've been on. No, it truly is, like, learning what I don't like and learning how not to talk to actors, how to talk to crew. Like, I've learned so much there. I think the one thing taking away from a lot of the male directors I've worked with, they have their people, and I think that's something that women are a little behind on. Is, I feel like, again, early 2000s, I think of my brother, and it's like, he was, you know, got the editing programs, got the, you know, everyone's buying him cameras and doing all this stuff, and it's like, he built a group of guys around him. And I think of that with Jason Reitman. He's worked with the same group of guys since high school, and I think it's much rarer and happening way more now that women have their team and their group of all women that they go and shoot stuff and they just make shit for fun. And like, that's what's so exciting about what we're doing, is that I feel like we are building little groups. I don't want to say little, but like groups of women that are making stuff together. And like, that is so vital and so important. And my favorite experience ever was Me and Earl and the Dying Girl, because it was, in terms of like watching the artistic process, because it was Indian Paintbrush produced it, which is Wes Anderson's production company. So like, all of the production designers, like costumers, like, you know, they were all brought in by the Wes Anderson team. And so they are all just masters at their craft in terms of like art department and, you know, just visual things. And so just watching the details, it was like, I remember being in my fitting and she put an earring on me, and she told me an entire story about the earring.
Wow.
And I was like, that's crazy.
How
and
cool is an actor to like
yeah,
be given all of that backstory,
Yeah.
and like all that specificity?
for sure. It was like so
I feel
special.
like that makes everything just a better piece of art, like in a more well-rounded way. That's very cool.
Yeah, like I think everything on the bookshelf, I think of, and Thomas Mann, who played Greg, like everything on his bookshelves in that movie had purpose, had intent, had like a backstory. Like it was really, because I find now, like with my projects, I am very detail oriented, like incredibly, and I can't wait to have the kinds of, to have money in the budgets to really get in there and like
Yeah.
really work on like, why is she wearing red in this scene? Let me tell you,
and
know,
to
like,
hire enough, like the amount of artisans it takes to
Yeah.
accomplish that kind of specificity.
Totally.
I feel like at this stage in our career, we're often wearing every hat.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
Oh,
I've- yeah.
Oh, I can't wait. Like, I think about, having real costume designers and like, I
Yeah.
can't wait. I can't wait.
Okay, so we're almost at time, but
Yes.
can you tell us just like one movie or show that like made you want to be the artist that you are today?
Oh. You know what's, I just rewatched Beasts of the Southern Wild at the Oscar Museum, the Academy Museum. And that was something I watched when I was like, I think I was 13 when it came out. And I just, it has this like insane grounded, it's a super grounded movie, but there's all these fantastical elements to the movie. And I find that I love that in my own work, is like this kind of super grounded, character-driven story, but then there's like fantasy elements or genre elements, and I really do attribute it to that movie changing my life when I was like 13. And rewatching it at the Academy Museum, I was like, it still hits. It's still a great movie, but I just sobbed after. And I think, you know what I mean? Like when you watch a movie that really changed your life when you were young, like to rewatch it as a grown-up and to like have just so many years of life experience and then to go back and watch something and see how it makes you feel. Like that movie was written by a woman. She was a playwright, I think, before, or it was a play maybe before, and she ended up having it as a feature, and I think it won Oscars, obviously, which is why it was the Academy Museum. But yeah, that one for me, like really, I think influenced the kind of things I like and the kind of work that I set out to make.
I love that. Well, now you're just going to go on to make so many beautiful things.
I hope so,
I'm so proud of you. Love you.
Love
okay,
you.
that's all. Bye.
I'm your daddy. I'm
Sorry to this
I'm your
man.
daddy.
Okay, we've got Carly Vika.
We're here. And
Your
now this
podcast besties.
whole episode will be a musical number.
You don't have to ask us twice.
Daddy dailies, daddy dailies.
$. Okay. In the stew, we've got Vika Stubblebine. You've seen us together before when we've interviewed Alana Pena and Corinne Evans, but now Ms. Vika is answering the questions. Vika Stubblebine is an actor, writer, director, and stand-up comedian who most recently wrote on CBS's SWAT. An alumna of Sony's Emerging Writers Program, she has appeared in shows like How to Get Away with Murder and Insecure. Bangers. Her directorial debut, Lonely Mary, premiered at the Santa Monica Film Festival and won Best Director and Best Ensemble at the Independent Short Awards. Vika, hello. Okay, so
Yeah.
we both got our start in musical theater,
Yes.
which is it's a niche group in this industry.
Yeah. Although, like, less than I thought it was.
Yeah,
Yeah.
people get really excited. They're like, "Oh, you're a nerd like me."
Yeah.
Can you tell me your favorite musical? Go.
Wicked.
Ooh.
And I feel like that sounds cliche because the movie part 1 just came out, but I grew up in New Jersey and I grew up right outside New York City. My mom's a New Yorker and I was like 15, 20 minutes outside. So I was obsessed with theater and I would watch My Fair Lady is another favorite. Like love, love, love. It's based on the play Pygmalion, which has no music, and then with music it's even fucking better. Yeah, My Fair Lady, Sound of Music, like Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and like The Wiz, Wizard of Oz. But I watched all of these things and then I was so obsessed and I was always asking to go see shows. So my mom would take me into the theater. And I think I was probably in middle school or high school when Wicked came out. And we went to see that together. And it was, I think it comes to mind because it was so formative for me as like, oh, not only do I love this, but I want to like do it. I want to I don't know if I want to write it or I want to be in it or like all of the above, but I was so obsessed and I like bawled my eyes out. And it's such a beautiful layered story.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I'll never forget, like, just hearing the music for the first time. I was like,
yeah, stunning, like chills.
and you got to see everything.
Yeah.
So lucky. So starting there, you were an actor as well. What made you want to start writing and directing?
I think it's always been a part of me, writing, not directing. Everyone in my family writes in some way. Like my parents are both journalists, which I feel like I've said on the podcast before, but my uncle has written books and like my grandmother wrote a children's book that was never published that like was read to me when I was a kid. And like, it's just been ingrained in me. My grandmother lived 2 blocks away. So growing up, I would go over to her house after school while my mom was working and she had a typewriter that I was allowed to mess around with. And I would always write things like my diary. I would write on the typewriter, like made up stories about the neighbors and like, yeah, it was juicy.
Gossip.
A gossip rag.
Just this little kid writing like, and then I saw.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that in a way I kind of fought writing. I loved it, but I had always been sort of patted on the back for it. And I think there's something ingrained in the core of who I am that is about like if someone tells me I can't do something, or someone doesn't like approach me with like of course you'll be able to do that kind of energy, then I want to do it. And writing, I was a given in a weird way, and I loved it, but it didn't feel like that much of a challenge. I now think it's a challenge. I'm like, I should look directly in the camera. Writing is really hard, and I do it for like every day of my life, and it's very hard. But at the time I was like, whatever, like I'm so good at this. So you know what I can't do? Sing. So I'm gonna learn how to sing, and I'm gonna take voice lessons. And I got really good, and I started getting like the leads in the shows and stuff. And I think I just have this real drive to like prove myself wrong about things and what I'm capable of.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're kind of similar in that. We're both very like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, tell me more about what I can't do.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna be great. We both love a rabbit hole like that. So now you write on SWAT.
Yeah, and I didn't answer the part about directing.
Oh,
but I don't
please.
really know the answer, to be quite frank. Like I just don't know exactly when I learned what a TV director or like film director did. It was just like being on sets and stuff that I kind of started figuring it out. But there was a directing track at UCLA, and I could have taken those classes, like even not being in the major. I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
So
Right, that's something I feel like we talk about a lot, right?
Yeah.
Like that it's like we just had no idea. And I don't know if it's because we're women or in this industry or whatever, but like I truly had no idea we could be directors.
I think part of it is because my background was in theater, and there's this idea that the playwright is like the top of the totem pole. And I was like, well, then I will be the playwright. Like my ego.
Yes.
And so I'd never thought about it until much later. And yeah, so sorry. Right on SWAT.
Wait,
That's the next.
Before we even go back there though, was Lonely Mary was the first short that you directed, right?
Actually, I mean, short, yes. And first thing I put a lot of money into, I directed a lot of sketches.
Yes.
I have a big background in improv and stand-up, but I directed a ton of sketches, and then I also directed a web series. My friend and I co-wrote it and co-directed it, and that was really fun because all of us were learning together. We didn't know much at all about how to put a production together. So we were like, post-college, wearing all the hats, acting, writing, directing, finding the locations, being like, our sweet DP had just moved to LA and was looking for a project. Jeff Fong, shout out Jeff Fong. And he was like, how do you want to shoot this? And I was like, I would like a wide shot and singles. Like I just didn't have the language.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but that's the thing is it's like you can learn the vernacular for that. And we're still learning.
Yeah.
But like we took a chance. I actually distinctly remember you being like, I think I need to see if I can direct Lonely Mary myself.
Yes.
Like I just need to like
that.
give it a go. And I remember being like, yeah, literally just go for it. And I think that's just like so amazing. That's like what everyone just has to try it.
Yeah.
If you think you could be good at it, you could probably be good at it.
You had done your short, and April Moreau had done her short. And I was like, all these really cool women I know are making their own films. And I knew of Katherine peripherally, and I knew like a couple other people, and it just seemed so daunting because it is. But then when I was writing this short film, Lonely Mary, I knew that it was something that I wanted. I like really understood what the tone was going to be. And that kind of unlocked something in me where I was like, okay, it's actually about understanding what it is. If you understand it, it's not necessarily hard, or it'll be hard for other reasons, but it's not going to be hard because I don't know what it's supposed to be.
Right. No, totally.
Yeah.
Go Vika. Let's go. Okay, let's go back to SWAT.
Yeah.
So tell us what you have done on the show, how you ended up writing episodes. What was that like?
Okay, so SWAT is a CBS procedural show that I have been the showrunner's assistant on since season 5. And I've written 2 episodes, and I've shadowed the amazing director, Larry Tang, all through the show. I worked for a TV writer. That was one of my first jobs out of college as his personal assistant. And that led to me getting a low-level PA job on his TV show when that went, which was really cool. It was my first television job. I hadn't acted in anything before, and I was really excited. And I did one season of that show, and I kind of hated it. Not because the people weren't wonderful, but being a PA is not exciting necessarily. Like, I wasn't on set because we shot in another country.
You were like an office PA.
I was an office PA, and I wasn't exposed to a whole lot. To no fault, I didn't know what to ask for. I didn't understand really much, and honestly, that experience taught me a lot in hindsight. But I was like, I'm not sure. Maybe I don't like this. Maybe I don't want to write. And that was wrong. What I love about writing is, especially for television, is the collaborative experience and nature. And so being in a writer's room, throwing around ideas all day, like, you know, getting fuel from other people, like creative fuel, is really cool. And because of the way our offices were structured on that particular show, I wasn't near the writer's room. So I was really missing out on like what makes a writer's room tick. Yeah. Which is the thing that I like the most about it.
Right. So then on SWAT, when you got to be the showrunner's assistant.
Experience. Yeah. I worked at Sony for 5 years, which was, you know, really valuable in other ways. And then it's how I found out that there was an assistant opening on SWAT. And the culture there is something that if I ever get to be a showrunner, I want to emulate, because Sean Ryan and Aaron Rashad Thomas created SWAT. And then by the time I joined the show, Andy, who is my boss, he was co-showrunner and then became solo showrunner. Andrew Detman, who worked on so many iconic shows and has like a font of knowledge. And when I met with him, he was such an open book, which I honestly hadn't experienced that much of. He was like, what do you want to know? What do you want to learn? What are your goals? Almost before he even told me what the job was, you know? Yeah. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Like, whoa.
Yeah. And like you and Katherine were talking about mentorship, and I feel so lucky that I almost like fell into that with a boss, because it was something I wanted, but it isn't even something I knew to like look for. And then we met, and being a showrunner's assistant essentially means that you're like doing their schedule, you're taking notes on their calls, you're handling any meeting outside of the writer's room. And then on SWAT, because the culture of the show is that it doesn't matter where a good idea comes from. Could be an assistant, it could be a writer, it could be a producer, that it's all about making the best end story. And I got to sit in the room and be a fly on the wall. And I learned so much, like watching writers pitch story and how they pitched into each other's ideas. Because it's not just enough to have a good idea and be like, I think that they should like jump off the cliff. And then if the next person is like, and they should have a banana, then you're like, wait, what? How does that go with the cliff? You know, it's like, okay, yes. And then when they're on the cliff, like they notice the thing that we talked about, you know, half an hour ago. And it's like really like building on each other's stuff rather than being one track mind. Yeah.
That's so fun.
Yeah, I went on a tangent there, but I think I answered the question.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and then how did you end up writing, because you wrote 2 episodes on the show.
I did.
How did you end up getting your first episode?
So at the end of my first season, season 5, I had a meeting with my boss, the showrunner, and he was like, let's check in. How are you liking it? Like, I feel like, he was so sweet. He was like, I feel like I haven't had enough time to ask you if, like, what's going on with you and if you're, like, liking this and, like, you know, what else you want to learn. Because I had asked initially if I could be in post-production meetings because I knew so little about post at the time, and if I could go to set. And he was like, yeah, of course, you can go to whatever you want as long as like you're doing your job. I want you to learn as much as possible, which was very freaking cool. And that, I think, just to say it, because I don't know if this is like a woman thing or the fact that I was like so deeply insecure growing up, but I think I'm really good at knowing when not to talk, almost to a detriment of times, like when I was younger. And I'm totally different now. I almost talk too much.
No, never.
But there is something really valuable to like be the fly on the wall. Learn your the right opportunity will arise for you to contribute and to share an idea, or someone will ask you. But people have worked so hard to get there that if you chime in too much or before you've really learned the lay of the land, it can be not received well. So I think it's good to be able to read people and read the room and like still get what you want and learn, but don't be so eager, don't be chomping at the bit so much that you can't just like take it all in first.
Yeah.
And I think that helped me move up quickly because I wasn't pitching if I didn't have a fully fleshed out idea.
Yeah.
And it was very scary to pitch at first. I was like, I would side text the writers who were all very friendly and be like, is this a good idea? Like, should I? And you know, one of the producers at one point was like, pitch it. And I was like, okay, I have permission. So at the end of that season, when I was talking to my boss, I said, I really want to write and I want to write on this show. What do I need to do to like make that happen? And he's like, well, there are freelance episodes. I'm not saying you'll get one, but I want to read your stuff. And so I sent him a drama sample. I don't think he ever responded to it. I was like, oh my goodness, he didn't read it. He hated it. I suck at, you know, like just spiraling out in my own head. And then we were in the kitchen like a month later and he's like, oh, I read your script. I liked it. And I was like, like not even English.
And did you write a sample specifically for that? Like, because you knew that it had to be a certain formula to like.
I didn't want to write a SWAT episode because if it wasn't up to snuff or to my boss's taste, I was worried it would hurt me. And I wrote something that was very me, but had like SWAT is there's always a little bit of a mystery to solve. They're not detectives. It's more of like a how done it versus a why done it.
I love that.
And so I knew I could incorporate like a clue trail into my script and people who were maybe not what they seemed on the surface. So I tried to just make it like clear story and also have fun with it. I haven't read that in a while. I fear that if I read it now, I'd be like, I can't believe I gave this to like an accomplished television producer to read.
But it worked.
It got me.
Was it a pilot episode?
It was a 60-minute pilot that I gave him. And then he surprised me and we were in the writer's room, which was virtual at the time because it was like still in that weird post-COVID time. Yeah. And said I was getting the freelance episode. And then what was really cool is that everyone helped. Like on SWAT, you come in and you pitch your episode. It's not decided. The idea isn't decided on by the room, but then the room pitches into it and helps you really shape what that thing is, what your core idea is.
So fun.
Which I think helps you write it because you really care about it.
Okay, I feel like we could talk about the writer's room and writing like scripts to show for certain reasons for so long. I also want to talk about how you got to shadow on the show, the director.
Okay, yeah.
And like those two different experiences. Like what a gift that this show has given you.
Truly. The show has been canceled now and I'm so sad, but I'm so grateful because they let me try so many things on and really helped me grow. Actually, season 7 we were canceled. Like that was our last season. Right. And there's only so many freelance slots available on a show like SWAT, and it was a truncated season. So I wasn't getting an episode season 7, which I totally internalized as like, I suck, I'm never gonna write again, blah, 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 which it wasn't. It was that our showrunner sweetly didn't want any of the assistants. He really wanted everyone to get an opportunity who had like shown him that they wanted it, you know, had given him a script, had been like, hello, hi, I want to do this if there's ever an opportunity. And there was still one of my best friends, Charlie, had done that, had given him a script and hadn't written one yet. And so he told me like, Charlie's going to get that slot. And I was so happy for my friend and also disappointed for myself. But then I realized, okay, if I'm not going to write and the show's ending, spoiler alert, it didn't, then I'm going to ask if I can shadow. And so I did, and he said yes. And I ended up shadowing Larry Tang, who has directed, I want to say he told me he's directed over 200 episodes of television. And he came up through the crew, so he's a lot of technical knowledge, but he also loves actors and is just really good at talking to everyone. I think he can talk to everyone in their language. Yeah. It was very cool to observe him. Yeah. And Larry was the perfect person to shadow for my first time because he took me through prep and like talked to me about his reasons for everything and gave me homework.
Ooh.
I'm a bitch who loves
we
homework.
love
I
homework.
love homework. And he was like, okay, I want you to shot list the scene and then show it to me tomorrow.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, which was terrifying.
Yeah. But so cool.
And there was real stakes for
'Cause
me.
then you have to think about, too, since you know the show so well, shot listing in that voice.
And
is
shot
a
listing
whole-
for 3 cameras.
Oh my God.
What camera's going to do what, and something Larry does really well is like he learns people's strengths and like their passions, and so he's like, I'm making this up now, this isn't specific to our show, but like B camera operator is really good at like the Steadicam stuff and running with the actors, and like those roles are kind of already established on the show, but say you're with like a new crew, really learning what they're good at and what they spark to, or like how they communicate, I think is one of the most undervalued things. It's like I know that you love musical theater, and I know that you like really connect with the music and with rhythm and physicality and things, and so if I'm gonna bring a project to you, I'm probably going to talk to you about like this person has this like angular quality to their life and it's influenced X things psychologically, because I know that's what you're going to vibe with.
Yeah.
But I'm also obsessed with people and how they tick, and that's probably why I'm in this. So.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I feel like that is, do you feel like that's like a bit, like maybe your biggest takeaway from that experience of like how to be a great director?
I think so. I think I got to shadow one of the best that I've worked with, at least. And I think that I learned a lot about, it's just this constant theme with SWAT is like information sharing. Larry prints out his shot list and gives it to anybody who wants a copy. It doesn't matter if you're a PA or the camera department. And so everyone knows what the plan is. And I think that sometimes creative people in general are so in the world of the thing that they're not necessarily communicating as clearly as they think they are.
Absolutely.
And there's ways to help yourself out of that, because it's really hard to do. But you don't have to be like, okay, I visualize this in purple and this blah blah blah. You can be like, here are the angles and here are the things and here's like my must and here's my if we have time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ah, so good. And also something that Vika did that we loved, like within our group, and what we hope sort of this podcast does is Vika would like send us a voice note every day after set. And like we all kind of do that when we're like doing like bigger things, and just to be like, here's what happened, here's what I learned, here's what surprised me, you know. And it's just, first of all, it's like so exciting for our friend that we care about, but like also just wanting to and being so excited to share that information like is so special. So then as she's learning, we're all learning. Yeah. And which is exactly what happened when we were like, we gotta make a podcast.
Yeah, I totally agree. We've all done that where like you or Catherine or everyone truly has like come off of set or come off of a thing and been like, oh my gosh, like on this most recent episode that I wrote in season 8, like I said, we did have another season after 7. I had never worked with a car rig before. I'm totally blanking on what it's called, which is embarrassing, but it's like the whole car comes with the camera. Whoa. And it's like a follow car. It's very freaking cool. And I had never seen that before, and I was geeking out on it, and I was like taking pictures and sending it to you guys. And it's just amazing. And I should say, I think this is in another episode, but I don't know if this will come out first. On SWAT, the writers produce their episodes. So it's not like I hand the script off and I'm done, which is on a lot of shows. I go to set and I work with the director every day that we are in prep and shooting.
Yeah. That's incredible. Yeah. It's not always like this, especially for a show that's been on for so long. Like, how cool. Yeah. But of course, that's what you fell into because that's what you're going to be about, like in your career too, you know?
Yeah, I had a boss once tell me, like, what is the most important part to you? Like, is if you're going to go look for a job in a room, is it the genre? Is it, you know, does it have to be a comedy? And I was like, it's people. I want to work with people that I want to go to work with every day. Yeah. It doesn't mean that there aren't going to be people you don't get along with, which has been really hard for me as a people pleaser. I'm like, why don't you like me? Why don't you want to hang out? Like, why don't you like my ideas? But it has been good for me because I've been able to let that go.
Yeah. But because you have worked on SWAT for so long,
I want to make sure that we bring up that your favorite genre to write in is what?
Rom-coms?
Yeah. So how do you feel about that?
I'm so excited. I think that, like, SWAT gave me a lot of really good tools for my writing, including a habit of how to turn out a script quickly, because we get 8 days for our first draft. And now I'm writing 2 features, one solo, one with my very best friend, Anna Rizzolo, and one is a rom-com and the other one is a horror comedy. But I love love. Aww. And one of my favorite, like, all-time favorite films is Bridget Jones's Diary. And I grew up reading and obsessing over Jane Austen and the Shakespeare comedies. And I think that it's just so ingrained in me, the theatricality of falling in love. It's just like has innate drama to it because your emotions are so heightened, and I'm never not gonna want to watch someone fall in love.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and it's cool. It's gonna be really cool to see like how you take that structure that you learned and put that into this. I just can't wait to see what you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on Daddy Dailies.
Oh my God! I'm so glad we finally got to book you.
I know, I'm so busy being here.
Daddy Dailies is presented by Not Your Daddy's Films, a social impact organization dedicated to educating and empowering women and non-binary creatives in TV and film. If you like what you heard today, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a positive review. And if you want more Daddy episode insights and links to what we talked about, join us on Patreon/NYD Films. Daddy Dailies is produced in partnership with Robert Bailey and edited by Carly Tamarin, Vika Stubblebine, Claudia Restrepo, and Gracie Strauss. See you next time, Daddy.